Oh, still broadcasting him. Sorry about that. Sorry, Cliff. Well, good morning, my friends. Good morning. Good morning. Everybody kind of reminded me. Here we go. Tomorrow is the end of August. Good morning, Miss Elliott. And it is page 21 time. I think. Oops. I got to go to a reference guide. Yeah. Most harvests should be done, right? It's time to start watching leaves change. But yeah, it's time to prep your yard. I know you're all sitting there going, well, wait a minute. You've been having me work my yard the whole year. And right. Fall cleanup, fall prep work. We're not quite fall yet, but we're dropping our temperatures back to 50 overnights. Those temperatures are starting to come in. So it's time for page 21. So if you're in the lower part of the 48s, it's time for that last scalping of the yard and bagging. So drop your deck. Canada, up here, what have you. It's risky. It's risky. Depends on how flat your yard is. Depends on this. Depends on that. What have you. But yeah, hard bag, rake the yard up. You don't have to dethatch. Don't misunderstand, because you still got a few more cuts yet. But you want to kind of get that other stuff off before page 21 stuff. But it's time, especially in your gardens. Now, if you've harvested everything and you're down to like one or two plants, what have you, you know where to take those grass clippings, right? Pack your bed, because the leaves are next. So you're kind of building a compost for winter without building a compost pile. Okay, don't misunderstand. You're going to start building that blanket for your garden bed. But page 21. If you don't seed your bed, page 21, right out of the Green Wizard's Guide. And I know most of the time I tell you guys at the end of my videos what to do. This time around, I'm going to go early. So we're at 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes. Hit number 2 to let me know you're here. Let me know who all's here when you watch this video later. But yeah, we need to get the weed and feed down. So after you've bagged your grass, after you've raked it, and you've gotten up as much clippings without thatching, without pulling out that rake and doing the hardcore work, rake your entire yard, get that all up, and then get the weed and feed down. It's time. You got to get those seeds killed. Got to get the seeds killed in the garden bed too, because we've had all summer of seeds floating in. We want to prep for next year, just like we're prepping our grass for next year. This is the early punch. So you start your weed and feed end of August. Tomorrow's the last day of August. Tomorrow's yard day. Get it all cleaned up. Gather up all the sticks. Throw them in the garden. Gather up all the extra grass clippings. Throw them in the garden. If you've got flower beds that don't have mulch, what have you, that's where to put this stuff. Just lay it out. Don't get crazy. We're not landscaping. It's not spring. It's not early part. We need to start packing the beds, but we need to get the weed and feed down. Not the feed. That's 2 more weeks. Middle of September. 2 more weeks before we put the hard fall feed down. Okay? right as the leaves begin to change color in your areas when you start to put your feed down. You want your overwinter feed down in the fall as things are starting to go dormant. You want to get those saturating feeds in the soil. Yeah, it's like a 2 or 3 week process here. So we start at the very end of August. Get your weed kit or get your weed seed killer down. Page 21 in the Green Wizard's Guide. 2 weeks from now, we're going to feed the yard. So we're going to be doing a little bit of bagging here because we kind of want to get this stuff up, get it all cleaned up, and start packing our gardens, start packing our raised beds. Now, this has been questioned to me 3 or 4 times this year. You know, and I've got a couple of announcements here towards the end of the video, but raised beds. When we talk raised beds, we're talking 6 inches, a foot. That's a raised bed. There are other people out there who have them much higher. These are the ones I'm worried about. These are the ones I'm afraid of. Because some people are going to suspend the soil in the air doing that. Other people aren't going to suspend. They're going to have the full length, but they're going to be mighty tall. You can't pack that soil. You can't winterize that soil. It's too high in the air. It's not going to have a point of heat. You're going to completely dormant and or freeze and or hurt the food web in that soil, and it's going to have a little bit harder time recovering. If it's a suspended soil raised, who does this? Greenhouse people. They have soil sitting in bins against the walls, you know, foot thick, but there's all this room underneath that never comes in contact with the earth. Those are the ones I'm worried about. Really worried about. Some that go full length and go all the way to the soil, and the worms have the ability to go up and down. Okay, you're a little bit better off. The food web's a little safer in those beds. So how do you pack that? How do you heat that soil? Keep that soil 50 degrees, give or take, all winter long. See, that's where I kind of yield back and go, because I you don't want your soil frozen because the food web can't retreat. But let's go back the other way. Let's go back to the 6 inch. Let's go back to the 1 inch, raised soil that's grown. Let's go with our 12-inch barrier border wall gardens. That's what I'm thinking here. Packing it in green material. I know I've talked about this before. As long as it's not around a growing plant and off gassing next to that growing plant, we're safe as can be. We're safe as can be because all that's going to do is off gas, turn brown, and be what we need in organic material for the food web to feed on and all of its friends. So you kind of want to lean into that. So laying grass in your garden, and it's not green against plants. Give yourself one foot. So if you still have a plant growing and still have things going on, you want to be 1 foot away from that plant when you lay down fresh grass, and we're safe. At that point, we're safe. The rest of us that are just packing for winter, now's the time we're going to bring in the hay. Hopefully alfalfa hay. We want that steroid. I know some of you are sitting back on, wait, what did you just say? This is nature's steroid. Hay is nature's steroid. When you apply that to a garden and it gets incorporated into the food web and it gets eaten by the food web and eaten by the worms and pulled into the soil, when the new plants that get planted there next year run into it, it's that steroid boost. All natural, all nature, pure and clean alfalfa hay. Now, there's the difference between hay and straw, and there's the this, and there's the that, and there's alfalfa pellets, alfalfa feed, alfalfa. I mean, we're only talking about once a year here. We go out and we get a bale of, depending on how the size of your garden, a bale of alfalfa. Are we in second or third cut? We might be third cut of the year. If you can find fresh alfalfa, third cut of the season, that's the stuff you want. If you can get second cut and it's still a little green, that's fine too. You don't want first cut. You don't want completely brown. Yes, it's still alfalfa. Yes, it still has its ingredients. It's just not as powerful a punch. And you want to put your food web and your worms and your what have you and get it into the soil. See, what people don't understand is worms are chasing things throughout the season. They're chasing what they smell, what they pick up in the soil. What they also do and what they have been tracked doing and what they have researchers have found, they will take full-size leaves right off the top of the grass and pull that 18 inches, 20 inches down into the soil. The entire leaf. It's not eaten. They pull that entire leaf down into the soil. Organic matter for them to feed on over winter. Yeah, you heard it. They'll take the entire leaf down into the soil, 18 plus inches, down below the frost line, so that they have something to eat over winter. You know, you're sitting there going, wait a minute. Worms in the soil, 18 inches below the frost line, how do they breathe? Worms don't have lungs. They absorb oxygen from what they're eating through their flesh and exhale carbon. So freeze and thaw and this and that, and they pull oxygen out of water, and worms are fine. They're good to go. But you want to make sure they have the organic material. If you want more worms in your garden, follow the recipe in the end of the book and get organic material down in the soil, under your soil, for them to feed on over winter. Your worms will stay in your bed all winter and be doing the up and down all winter long, aerating the living daylights out of your soil in your garden only. Because how are you going to get all of that material under your grass? Okay? Following along here? So drive stuff into the soil now. We're going into fall. Now would be the one time I might actually consider saying it's safe to rototill. Because if you're going to grind leaves, brown grass, alfalfa, miscellaneous, berry, old tomato plants, old corn stalks, old, bury it. Get it under your garden. Because your worms are going to be running trails all winter long and giving you water sequestration areas come spring. This is how we get less watering in our gardens. You let the worms do their natural rototilling thing. You don't crack it open in the spring. You just get in there with a pitchfork, move it over, Plant your plants, plant your seeds, put it back, leave it alone. Get it? Mother Nature has a way of rototilling everything for you. You just have to supply it. And that's what the Green Wizard's Guide's all about. Giving you those shortcuts, giving you those, hey, what ifs, giving you the abilities to amp everything up, giving you the ability to utilize nature the way it's supposed to be utilized. You can take 1 inch of rain, and there's Gabe Brown. Look him up. 1 to 2 inches of rain. And he's got corn growing all season, 1 and 2 inches of rain. See, the water table will restore itself underneath if the soil's covered, if the soil's abundant, if the soil's rich. That 1 or 2 inches of rain that'll come in, it's going to absorb and it's going to stay. The food web is going to sequester it. It's going to hold it in place. The water table will restore itself if your soil's covered, if the armor is in place. So going back to, hey, we're at the end of August. Tomorrow's the 31st. Yard cleanup time. We don't want to really be doing it with all the leaves because that's when we're talking compost. That's when we're talking about packing things up really, really good for winter and filling in our flower beds and getting things warm and getting things protected. Uh, that's all the leaf fall. We're talking about your grass now. Because remember, this is where a lot of that water gets stored. And I keep doing that. I'm sorry. I'm just not smoking, so my hands are sorry. Don't want to make excuses. But this is the thing you got to think about. Where's the water going when it rains? Is it only falling in your garden? No, it's falling in your entire yard from your trees, your bushes, your flower beds, your grass, your this, your that, the other. These are all sequester areas. These are all areas your garden can be feeding from. Your flower bed can be feeding from. Your grass can be feeding from. Because if you've watched my other videos, you know, and I've said it, a single grass, when tested, can be 30 inches long when you check the roots. That's a lot of water sequestration going on. That's a lot of water storage down in your soil. And the water goes even deeper than that with the food web. If the roots are that deep, the food web's gone even further. Now, who is it? I think it's Dr. Elaine. States your soil is as deep as it is until it hits the rock table underneath. Some places in America, that's 3 miles deep of soil that the food web could be running. That's a lot of water storage. That's a lot of water potential. Not flooding, water sequestration, water being held in your soil. Okay? So your grass in the areas around your gardens are that important. I know a lot of people will come in and they'll put down a bunch of wood chips and they'll pack it down and they'll walk all over it, and the pets will be running through it, and the wildlife will be down in there running through it, and what have you. Um, where's your water storage? Where's your water table? When you're compacting that soil, where's your water storage? It's only under your raised bed. You may want to open that up. This may be the time to, I don't want to say rototill, but this may be the time to rake that stuff loose. Get in there with a hoe because we're closing up for the winter. We're going to stop using these beds for 3 or 4 months. You may want to open up those wood chips and let the food web really start doing its thing in those areas. This is extra water storage space for your garden. You've walked all over it how many times this year? Plus your kids, plus your animals, plus wildlife. Compaction is the enemy, everybody. That's why we pack up. That's why we do what we do. Good morning, JCT. That's why we want to put our winter garden beds to rest and pack them away, pack them under blankets, pack them under leaves, pack them under, and that's what Bobby says. Are we talking about a man-made product here? No. Or it wasn't Bobby. It might have been Grizz. Yeah, it was Grizz on the phone. Sorry, Bobby. We want browns. We want our hay. We want our alfalfa. We want our leaves. We want our grass clippings. Pack those gardens. 2, 3 inches, 4 inches, depending on how far north you go, the deeper you want to pack your garden. Now, over in North Carolina, they do things just a hair different, depending on the bed that they're using and what they're growing in it. Now, myself, like with my test bed, I go and plant garlic in there October and November. And that thing works all winter long. So yeah, I got to pack it loose. I can't just I can't just bury it and forget about it. That's what I'm telling you guys to do in some of your beds. It depends on what you're growing. I want the garlic to drive off the bugs. You can think about that. You might want to plant some of that in your walking aisles in your garden beds. Because what some people do is they'll mound garden. So they'll build a mound and they'll plant at the top of that mound. It's good and bad if they're not covering that area. Because the higher it is, the faster it's going to dry out. And if you don't have an active food web underneath, you got an issue. That's why Howie's works better. Howie's Way works better. His aisles are actually his walkways. That's where he's got most of his organic activity going on. There's method to Howie's madness. Most people don't look at it and don't go through it hard enough. So, yeah, it's that time. Time to start taking care of the grass. So we got to get out there. Page 21, everybody. Green Wizard's Guide. Get that stuff in your yard. Get all that loose grass up first. Cut it, rake it, get everything out. Bag up everything. Get as much off as you can because we still have a few weeks. We're going to start slowing down our cuts here. We're going to be every other week. Well, you guys are. Not me. Not me. I'm looking at number 40 today. My 40th cut of the season. My yard's killing it. Just doing wonderful. But now's the time to get that weed killer down. You want to make sure you get those weed seeds out of your yard before spring. This is the time to do that. So go to page 21, get the product down in the grass. I know some of you, you're all worried about, oh my God, if I follow your system, everything's going to grow too much. This is not one of those products, Mr. Cliff. This is one of those products that soaks into the soil, comes in contact with a weed seed, and kills it. Now, if you're planning on a fall seeding for your grass this year, keep that in mind. You're going to need to be 6 to 8 weeks before you put down any seed once you put down the weed and feed. Got to give that stuff time to dissolve, go away, and become food. It's going to take 6 to 8 weeks. So, depending on your schedule. But Cliff, this is just weed seed. Killer. We're not amping everything up to give you too much grass growth. And you just don't want to do the fall feeding. The weed and feed will do that for you on a slower scale, on a slower level. It'll still bring up your nitrogen levels, but you're not going to get the beautiful grass growth I get. I know. God forbid you have to cut grass once a month. Dude, you need to plant Bermuda. Just get it over with. I thought she was in Texas. Yeah, JCT's over in Texas, Elegant. So yeah, page 21. Let's kill all those weed seeds. Those of you packing up your gardens that are finished harvesting, you may want to kill those seeds too. You can. This will soak in and then start packing the bed. And everything will be cleared and you can still plant from seed for next year. You're still safe. But you want to kill off all the weed seed in your bed at the same time. It's all in what you want to do. It's all in how you want to take it. It's all in how you want to grow. All I'm concerned with is you treat the soil right. You treat the soil right, we stop the flooding. We start lowering the prices of all of this so-called, safe organic food. Well, if their gardens and their farms are flooding from what little bit of rain we've had this year, I don't care what they're saying. If they're flooding, there's something wrong in the soil. They're not organic. Key here. If they're flooding, that's not an organic farm. Because organics would be 18 inches, 20 inches, 30 inches, 40 inches of pure aerated soil soaking up every ounce of water it can get. That's a true organic farm. In England, when they say organic, that's the soil they've got. In America, when they say organic, that just means they didn't use chemicals this year, but the soil's already dead from last year. You want true organic? Go over to Elegance. She's going to have it. I don't know how much abundance she has this year. She's been a little busy. But you got to be in Kentucky to get to Elegance Farm to buy from Elegant. Good luck with that. If she's even there for selling season. But that's where we're at. Time to treat the yard. Get rid of the weed seed. Now, some of you are sitting there going, we're getting into that time. The ants are going to start moving again, and they're going to start looking to get into my house. It's in the book. It's in the book. Wash the house. Wash the flower beds around the house. It's not going to hurt your grass. Spray it in. Get rid of the ants. You know they hate the lemon. It's in the book. Spray the yard down. Get that foam going. That's got nothing to do with tomorrow's weed and feed. It's got everything to do with protecting your house from the bugs that you don't want in there. Remember lemon. Lemon around your windowsills. Everywhere. So that's where we're at. And I'm going to end this because I'm almost at 30 minutes. Now, that special announcement I was talking about. If you stuck around long enough, you already know you're supposed to check the video and leave the number 2. Got 2 more videos potentially coming out, and then I'm done. People want to know about mushrooms. They want to know more so about magic mushrooms because people are weird. Want to know more so about magic mushrooms than they want to know about mushrooms themselves. Got to understand mushrooms are what break up logs. So if you've got wood piles, you may want to catch this next video. Then I've got another video I'm getting ready to do. We're leaning into the preppers. So if you got prepper friends, they're going to be wanting to check that next video. I'm not sure how to title it yet, but it's a shout out to the preppers. Made arrangements with another channel to put some links in and utilize that world. I probably won't get the return links because I've gotten no support from that channel whatsoever this season. God works in mysterious ways. Maybe God will finally touch that channel and make a difference. But so two more videos, everybody, and then I'm done. So yeah. And no, probably not the done that you're thinking. But we'll see. So I'm going to fold this up. I'm going to shut up and I'm going to go away. Page 21, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Elegant, thanks for sticking around for the whole video and not falling asleep on me. I greatly appreciate that. I know how hard that is for you because I'm so boring. It's all good, sweetheart. JCT, lovely to see you as always. Mark, thanks for stopping in. Glad to hear you're doing better. We'll talk to you guys. You know where to find me. I'll see you around the streams. Good day, everybody.